Welcome to a massive crossover explainer. Today we're diving into a hypothetical death match between two absolute anime heavyweights. You know the age-old question? What happens when an unstoppable force meets a totally immovable, incredibly precise object? Well, we are about to find out. We're breaking down a literal clash for the ages. Roronoa Zoro from One Piece squaring off against Kenpachi Zaraki from Bleach. It's the ultimate battle of masterful skill versus just pure, overwhelming power. And we're going to look at exactly how this fight would play out.
Here's the game plan for today. We'll meet our combatants, dive deep into Zoro's King of Hell style, and then look at Kenpachi's savage brute force. After that, we'll run a head-to-head stat comparison, simulate a 7-round hypothetical clash, and finally, deliver our verdict.
All right, let's set the stage and look at our combatants.
To make this analysis as accurate and honestly as thrilling as possible, we are taking peak current Zoro and pitting him against peak Kenpachi. Now, just to keep things completely fair, we're assuming their physical and spiritual power systems interact normally. Because, if we didn't do this, Bleach characters would just have an automatic, totally unfair advantage thanks to how souls and spiritual pressure work in their universe. So, with those ground rules locked in, let's meet our fighters, assuming Zoro didn't get lost on the way to the arena, right?
Starting off in corner 1, we have the technical swordsman himself, Zoro.
When you look at his arsenal, it's pretty clear that Zoro doesn't just rely on standard attacks. He brilliantly stacks his abilities to create something totally unique. I mean, he doesn't just swing 3 swords. He combines his crazy, unpredictable 3-sword style, literally holding 1 sword in his mouth and 1 in each hand, with advanced forms of haki. By channeling advanced armament and Conqueror's haki through his notoriously stubborn sword, Enma, he unlocks his ultimate fighting level, the King of Hell style. This essentially lets him stack top-tier swordsmanship, haki, and massive physical strength into single devastating packages.
And Zoro is just such a smart combatant. He uses high-speed rotational attacks, feints, and incredible spatial awareness to pry open an opponent's defense. He reads his enemies, adapts to their weaknesses on the fly, and can even invent brand new techniques mid-battle. In this specific matchup, that precision and tactical brilliance, that is absolutely his biggest advantage.
Over in corner 2, we have overwhelming brute force, Kenpachi Zaraki.
Kenpachi is basically the complete opposite of Zoro. He doesn't do complicated strategy. He doesn't do refined technique. What he does bring is monstrous physical strength and a spiritual pressure, or reiatsu, so enormous it literally crushes weaker opponents just by him being in the general vicinity. Throw in a frankly insane pain tolerance where he deliberately lets opponents hack into him just so he can enjoy the thrill of the fight, and you have a truly terrifying opponent on your hands.
And just wait until he releases his ultimate weapons. He wields the Zanpakuto no Zarashi, which even in its Shikai state can slice through things considered completely impossible to cut. But if you actually manage to push him into his Bankai form, oh man, his skin turns red, he essentially becomes a literal demon, and his raw physical and cutting power just spikes off the charts. He becomes a savage, instinct-driven force of nature. The only real drawback here is that his power is so incredibly vast, his own physical body actually struggles to contain it all.
So this entire battle boils down to one central, super fascinating theme. Zoro's technical skill, tactical adaptation, and precision going head-to-head against Kenpachi's overwhelming brute force, physical dominance, and sheer destructive power. It's a surgeon's scalpel against a massive, unstoppable wrecking ball. The classic dexterity versus strength build from your favorite RPGs.
Let's look at the final scorecard and see how these stats actually compare.
The contrast here is just incredible. Look at this breakdown. Zoro clearly takes the edge in all the technical categories. Swordsmanship, technique, tactics, weapon variety, and of course his haki abilities give him an amazing toolkit. But look at Kenpachi's side. He absolutely sweeps the physical stats. He dominates in raw strength, overall speed, since Bleach Soul Reapers move at just absurd combat speeds, durability, endurance, and pure attack power. Plus, Kenpachi takes the edge in natural combat instincts, since he literally learns and evolves purely through the visceral act of fighting.
All right, time for the fun part. 7 rounds of hypothetical carnage.
The fight kicks off with a super tense standoff. Zoro sizes up Kenpachi's confidence, while Kenpachi just mocks Zoro for needing 3 swords. And then, they charge. The initial heavy sword clashes send these massive shockwaves tearing through the ground. Zoro instantly realizes he's up against unbelievable raw strength as he's physically pushed back. But, adapting instantly, Zoro uses his speed, vanishing forward to unleash a rapid sequence of slashes. He actually draws blood, but this is Kenpachi we're talking about. The injury just makes him smile, muttering, "That's more like it." By round 3, Zoro knows standard attacks just aren't gonna cut it. He gets serious. Activating his haki, black lightning starts crackling around his blades as he enters his King of Hell 3-sword style. Suddenly, his attacks are dramatically faster and way more precise. He actually starts to overwhelm Kenpachi's defenses with sheer technical brilliance, cracking his guard and pushing him back. For a brief moment, technique really seems to be winning out.
But then, in round 4, Kenpachi decides to escalate things. The whole battlefield shakes as he releases his enormous Shikai no Zarashi. With one single earth-shattering swing, the impact creates a massive crater and launches Zoro straight through solid rubble. By round 5, they're just exchanging brutal, all-out blows. Zoro lands cuts, Kenpachi lands cuts. Neither of them is even trying to dodge anymore. They just want the direct clash.
Then, in round 6, the entire atmosphere shifts. Kenpachi unleashes his Bankai. His body transforms, and that spiritual pressure becomes practically suffocating. He is now a terrifying, nearly unstoppable physical monster. He charges, and as Zoro tries to block, his swords are nearly forced right out of his hands. The power is so immense that even when Zoro manages to dodge, the sheer force of Kenpachi's swing splits the ground wide open behind him.
Moving into the final round, Zoro knows his stamina is fading fast against this beast. He knows he can't survive a prolonged battle of attrition, so he gathers every single drop of his armament and Conqueror's haki. Letting Enma draw out absolutely everything he has left, he summons this monstrous aura for one final desperate Ashura attack. Kenpachi, seeing this massive display of power, doesn't even flinch. He charges directly into it. The two ultimate attacks collide head-on.
So, when the smoke clears, what's our final verdict? We're giving this to Kenpachi Zaraki, winning this brittle deathmatch approximately 7 times out of 10.
Now look, this is not an easy fight by any means. Zoro's technical mastery and advanced haki definitely give him a very real path to victory. If he can exploit Kenpachi's lack of defensive technique early on, avoid those direct clashes, and land a clean haki-infused strike before Kenpachi fully powers up, Zoro can absolutely take the win. But if the fight drags on, Kenpachi's insane endurance, that monstrous spiritual pressure, and his Bankai-enhanced power are just way too much for Zoro's stamina to hold out against.
To sum up this clash of titans, Zoro is undoubtedly the better, more refined swordsman. But Kenpachi? He's the superior monster. This analysis really proves that in an extended, grueling battle of attrition, overwhelming physical power and unyielding endurance will eventually break even the most flawless technique. It's an incredible matchup that perfectly highlights two completely different yet totally valid combat philosophies. It really makes you think about what matters most when everything is on the line. So I'll leave you with this final thought for today's explainer. If you were standing on the sidelines of that ruined battlefield, would your money be on the flawless precision of skill or the terrifying reality of overwhelming power? Who would you bet on?